Bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here. It's a Monday. It is an overreaction Monday. We'll be taking your reactions throughout the day on Atlanta's win over Nashville, on Bayern Munich's win of the Champions League, on anything else in MLS, USL, the Championship, League One. If you want to talk about Ecuador, we can talk about Ecuador. We can talk about Liga MX. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about this morning. You can do that and let us know what you want to talk about in a few different ways. You can tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. You can email us, soccerdownhere@gmail. You can also join us on the Twitch pitch, which is official these days, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere, and join the conversation there. All right, let's start with Atlanta and Nashville. It's a 2-0 win. Pity Martinez with 2 goals, his first 2-goal game in MLS for Atlanta United. Second goal was amazing. First goal was a great one as well. Both very high quality. Nashville was not a pushover. Nashville was very difficult here for Atlanta United to not just keep at bay, but to break down. Nashville was a good opponent. Atlanta was better on the night. What did we learn about Atlanta United in this one, John?
What did we learn? That I think that when you have time to yourself, that you can see who you are as a group. And I think that we got to see that with how Atlanta United performed on the weekend. And I think that we also got to see the trust that Stephen Glass has in folks like Anton Walks and Mateus Husetu and players that were listed in that starting 11. We got to see that Kubo Torres got a cup of coffee and was part and parcel to the second goal on the board. We got to see trust in individuals like Mo Adams late for both his defense in creating a turnover and then sticking with a play all the way to its end toward the second goal. So I think that there were a lot of things with individuals there, but I think that the time to yourself under an interim manager, you get to sit there and you get to work on those relationships, and we got to see round one of that in the win over Nashville.
The breaking glass sound that Chris Ashley wanted. No, I'm not ripping off Stone Cold because the WWE pays way too much attention to things that you drop into things. Do. So you get this one instead. That was the glass being broken on Stephen Glass's first MLS win. And yes, good morning, Domer. And good morning to everybody hanging out on the Twitch pitch. VM has asked if we've heard any news on Meza and Barco. Barco, after the game, it came out that it was an injury that happened on Friday in training. That's what kept him out of the match. Meza, they checked his knee on the field. I mean, everybody saw it on the broadcast. He came back in, and it was a very important moment. We'll get into the importance of that here in a second. And then he was subbed out at halftime. Have not heard an update. Didn't expect to hear one so quickly. Stephen Glass will be speaking to the media today at 1 o'clock. I'd expect we to get an update there. Hopefully it is a sprain. Hopefully it is not anything major. I mean, I think you can take some positive thoughts out of the fact that he was able to, at a minimum, get back on the pitch and stand on the pitch and move around a little bit after he went down. That kept Atlanta from having to burn a sub and, more importantly, burn a sub spot where they were able to do that at halftime, which doesn't count the same way. That's why you could go ahead and make 4 substitutions the way that they did. I think it'd be a surprise to see him on Wednesday. Beyond that, it's just there's no way to know. And you wouldn't know this soon anyway because he'd have to get an MRI and have to get checked out and all that stuff. So Shiva's very happy. Shiva's 2-0 score prediction came into play. I was close. I thought Nashville would find something. They had opportunities too. And that's something that you're going to go back and look at the film here and say, you conceded a lot of shots. Now, a lot of long-range, very speculative efforts, but you conceded a good number of opportunities to Nashville. Chance quality, Nashville, according to XG, had more expected goals than Atlanta United. Atlanta United was very efficient in their attack. Atlanta United had the possession, which you would expect in a game like this. You'd expect it from an Atlanta United team anyway. But I thought Atlanta was okay to start, good by the end of the first half. Second half got better and better. And that's kind of to be expected with the way that they play, and I think the situation with a new manager coming in. Without games to prepare in, you're kind of building it on the fly. I thought passes were a little tentative early. They were a little safe. Things weren't moving that crisply. You saw a couple little breakthroughs. Brooks Lennon had an opportunity that he didn't hit well, but it was a great build-up play in the middle of the first half. You had things starting to build. I thought Mateus Rossetto really started to grow into the game and play faster and do some really nice things in the middle of the park. I thought it was a good performance all the way around. Can it be better? Absolutely. But it's a good performance, and it is a good baseline for these 6 games, which you're going to be tested in. Look, Miami went up against Orlando, who was coming off of a final appearance in the MLS's back tournament, and Miami took care of business. They were up 3-1 at one point, conceded a goal in the 80th to Nani to make it 3-2. They held on. Miami didn't look like the same team. Julian Carranza scored twice. Rodolfo Pizarro looked very good. Orlando, we know what they did in the MLS's back tournament. They're not going to be a pushover either. All of these games are going to be difficult, and you're going to have to fight for it. Numbers aren't going to tell the whole story. I thought Atlanta had control of the match on Saturday, which is something that they always strive for. I think they achieved that. They can be better, and they're going to have to be better against Miami and Orlando.
No, and I think you're right. I think that what you're looking for in that first match with a new guy in charge is you're going to try to find your footing for a while. And then as you come into your own and the match continues to grow, then you feel more confident and comfortable in who you are in those relationships and things like that. No, I think you're spot on. It's just they grew into the match. We hear that a lot, but I think that in this case, the Atlanta United did grow into the match, and they were the better side going up against Nashville on the weekend.
Yeah, let's talk about the difference in Pitty's role. Jigare said that it was Pitty's best game in an Atlanta United shirt. He had something to prove, like all players do when a new manager's at the helm. He spoke about that, too. I thought Pitty made that pretty clear in that you're not throwing all the blame on where Atlanta United was coming into this on Frank de Boer, because the players are on the field. It is a failure of everybody involved when you have to make a managerial change. That's just a fact. So the players had a lot to prove. 2 reasons. They had not played up to par coming into this. No real argument of that. And whenever you have a new manager temporarily and then the potential for a new manager permanently after that, they're going to be looking at everything with a clean set of eyes. They don't care what you did before. They're going to care about what you're doing for them, what kind of form you're coming into. They're going to be looking at the now. And those relationships where every manager has their favorites, every manager has players that they trust more than others. I could come into a situation and pick out a player and say, this is my guy. And a new manager could come in and say, I don't even rate that guy. He's not going to even be in my starting lineup. That's what happens. So everybody has a little bit of a point to prove right now. Pitty stepped up. I think part of it was because of his little bit different situation. Now, a lot of people have said, Matt Doyle had this as well, that Pitty Martinez only played on the left wing for River Plate. That was his preferred position. He played plenty in the middle. Let's not rewrite history here. He played plenty in the middle. He played on the left wing as well. I think in this team, in this setup, it worked really well. There's 2 reasons why. In the middle, Mateus Rossetto is very good at pressuring the opponent. The pressure from the middle of the park with Rossetto, with Heinemann, with Remedi sitting a little bit deeper was very strong, very disruptive. In the Dallas games, you go back and look at Dax McCarty and Anibal Godoy, they bossed the game. They didn't do that here. And the reason why is because of Heinemann and Rossetto disrupting everything through the middle. Nashville couldn't play through McCarty and Godoy as easily. Rossetto was a better fit there than Pitty. Pitty also, in my opinion, and this is not new, he is better finishing plays than being involved in the build-up. That's why I've always thought that Ezequiel Barco as a number 10 would be a better fit, because I'd like to have Barco with 80, 90 touches, Pitty with a good 40 or 50 in the right moments. And we saw that in this game. The 2 moments that Pitty had were brilliant. Absolutely, utterly brilliant. You don't have many players who can have the first touch that he did on the first goal after a beautiful ball from Eric Remedi, and then the presence to do everything he did. And then the flip side, the second goal, there's just not many guys who see that play developing and hit it first time the way that they did. Pitti was spectacular in the moments he needed to be spectacular. And he wasn't tied up with some of the other moments that you don't need him as involved in. You want him more involved in the key moments. He had 46 passes in this game. That's a lot less than he had been in that 60-70 range. You want him with the right touches, not a whole bunch of touches. Josetu was a really good factor in the middle. It gave balance. He had 50 passes, but he completed them at 96%. Were all of them opening the game up? No. But he also contributed defensively. That's a key role. This team had balance. There's been a lot of people who looked over at the right side as well, and Brooks Lennon on the ball needed to be better. There's no question about it. He had wayward crosses, heavy crosses consistently. But what he gave you was balance. His work defensively was outstanding. The guy didn't stop. He's probably still doing sprints at Mercedes-Benz Stadium right now. You needed that because what that did is it opened up the freedom for Franco Escobar to go when the time called for it, to go forward and be dangerous going forward. He knew he had somebody who could cover his back in Lennon. Was it the perfect game plan? Was it the perfect performance? No. Was it a good baseline to start from? I think it was. So lots of things in the Twitch pitch. I want to grab one real fast. I'm seeing a lot of stuff come through. I'm going to try to get as much as I can here. But you guys go ahead and talk amongst yourselves if you need to. Bern Dursberger says, how would you compare this game with the one in Nashville? I'd say we had more control of the game in Nashville, but it resulted in less space to run into for Atlanta. Now, without much control, they have more chances to counter, and that's what they're good at. They're not dominant enough to create chances from possession. Right now, I don't disagree with the creating chances from possession. I think when you have Barco and when you're in sync more, you can do that. I'm high on Josetu. I know not everybody is. I don't know why people are writing players off so fast. I mean, Josetu's barely played for this team. I like his talent a lot, and I liked the role he was in this one. I think he can even play a little bit deeper if you want to put Barco in that 10 role, and it might work even better in that sense in creating chances from possession. You're going to need to do that. You can't play strictly on the counter, I think, and beat everybody. You're going to have to be able to create chances through possession, and you have the talent to do so. In terms of control and space and all that, I think Nashville's a lot better than they were in February as well. I think Nashville was far more expansive in this one in terms of they got up and pressed. They didn't just sit back all day long and say, okay, we're going to absorb pressure and try to hit on the counter. They stepped up when Atlanta played out of the back, which is what Atlanta wanted, which is what Nashville wanted. Atlanta won those battles pretty much every time. There were a couple of turnovers based off the press that you want to clean up, but as we saw yesterday with Bayern Munich, they knew that they were going to have some giveaways. They knew they were going to give some chances away, and they're going to roll the dice to be better than the opponent. Atlanta ultimately wants to be there. They're nowhere near that right now. It's game one after a month of a layoff. It's game one with a new manager. Let's give it a little bit of time before we start freaking out. But I think that's the idea, is you want to build up play. You want to build up chances through that. You are going to be good on the counter based off the personnel that you have. You can do both. And to be a top team in this league, I think you have to do both. So you have to build up the other side. You need Barco in this team. Or you need to be sharper with the players you have on the field. That's where you're at. Barco, big miss. You really want him on the field with this group. I think he is a top player who could do some of what Bernd is talking about. Didn't happen. Unfortunately, he's had another little knock. It was not described as serious to us at all. It was described as minor. I would say that Wednesday is a strong possibility for him. I'm really hopeful that we see him on Wednesday. I think he improved some of the elements that needed to be built up a little bit. Christopher Abel said, why is nobody talking about what George Bello did Saturday? I felt like I talked about it a lot Saturday and Saturday night on the post-game report, on the full-time report. Bello was great. Bello was great defensively. after a lot of criticism about him defensively that felt a little unfair for a teenager with 4 starts coming into this one in MLS, he was very good. He wasn't tested in the same way that he will be in Miami if he starts. That's absolutely a fact. Nashville on the right side was weaker. But Alistair Johnson was solid, but they're not as much of a threat from that side. But Bello got forward and contributed. He also did his job defensively. He did everything you want him to do. Also had a sweet nutmeg too, but I mean that's just a nice highlight that doesn't do anything specifically. It's good stuff to see Bello playing with confidence. I thought he was really good. I thought the back line was good. At times, needed to be a little bit better, but when you lose a center back at halftime and you bring another center back in, who's a different kind of personality player, Robinson's very different than Meza, it was okay. They found it. There were some moments of miscommunication that they have to clean up. It has to be better. They got to fix that stuff. You also got to get a consistent back line together. I mean, go back. You've been playing 3 in the back the whole way. You didn't have Escobar and Robinson to start the season. You get to Miami, you did have them completely and utterly disjointed. Now you're going to a line of 4, which is different. You haven't had a chance to test it in game. You've got to have people step out of their comfort zone a little bit and be that vocal guy that is needed. If that's Brad Kazan, if that's Miles Robinson, if that's Anton Walks when he's in there, and I thought he was very good in this game. If it's Fernando Meza, if it's the holding midfielder, if it's Eric Remedi, trying to do it from that side, which is not ideal, but you need somebody to be that vocal leader on the field a little bit more. There were times where I thought there were communication breakdowns.
Cairo is in this morning on the Twitters, and we have folks on Twitter as well. Cairo says, at Anton Walks has earned the second center back spot next to Miles Robinson, even when Meza is fit.
No. Cairo, I have to completely disagree. And that's not a knock on Walks. Walks has been really, really good, but Fernando Meza was brought here to be the leader of your back line, and when he is fit, he is your starter. There's just no question about that.
And Caro says he's been consistent in multiple roles and stints with the team. Still young, still improving, but always up for it.
Yeah, Walks is great to have, and Walks could be a starter on the outside. Walks could potentially even be a starter in the holding midfield if you want to go down that road. But Anton Walks is not going to start over Fernando Meza when both are healthy. Meza is a player that I think you saw the difference in the first half and the second half. Meza has more of that long ball. He has more of that long passing game. He's a better passer, I think, than Walks. Walks is maybe a little more athletic, but Meza, in terms of his passing, he reads the game a little bit better. He's more experienced. That's to be expected. He's brought here to be the starter. Walks will potentially be a starter with this team, but not yet. If Meza's healthy, I think he's the guy.
Let me ask you this, and the reason I ask is because of a follow-up thought from Nathan Pugh. When you saw the starting 11, what was your initial reaction?
Well, when I saw the starting 11, the initial reaction was, where's Robinson and where's Barco? I mean, that's kind of a giant duh. Those are two guys that you would expect to be in there. They weren't in there. We heard the story on both, and okay. Then when you know that, it's like Walks getting the start for Robinson makes total sense. The midfield and the way everything grouped up without Barco involved made total sense. So, I said it was going to be a 4-3-3 the whole way. That's what I expected. That's what we saw. I don't know where all the confusion was in the pregame about 3-4-2-1 and 3-5-2, and I think I saw every permutation you could possibly see. 4-3-3 is what we've seen Tony Annan play with Atlanta United 2 since he took over. It's what we've seen now with Stephen Glass in his one game. I think it will be the base that everything builds from. Doesn't mean we won't see other things, but I think that's going to be the baseline, is a 4-3-3. And I think potentially in the way we saw it, because it was a little different than we've seen Atlanta United 2 play. This was not truly two holding midfielders. This was far more, if you want to get specific with lines, a 4-1-4-1 in a lot of ways, with Heinemann and Josetu ahead of Remedi, who was consistently deeper. The roles were pretty well defined, I thought, and that helped. Josetu and Heinemann were both going to drop back as needed, but they were in front of Remedi for the most part. It helped give balance to that midfield. So Lineup-wise, it made sense. Lennon on the right side. I expected more from him going forward, and if he's going to keep that kind of role, you're going to have to see more from him in the final third. The rest of the game, the work rate, was exactly what the team needed for that balance. It was very, very good because you knew on the left side you didn't want Pity Martinez consistently making those runs that Brooks Lennon did. So you were a little slanted. You had to slide when Bello went forward and Pity was up high and you had a turnover. You had to slide a little bit. Lennon coming back is critical in those moments because what happens is everything slid over. If it was Meza on the left side of the two center backs, he slides over to the left. Walk slides over as the left center back. Escobar slides over as the right center back. Lennon drops into a right back role. You've got balance again. That's why Lennon was really important. He's got to be better in the final third, but also if you replace him, the player who comes in has to be willing to put in that kind of work as well on the right side. Jake Mulroney's a player who could do that, and he could be a different look on the right side than Brooks Lennon. But I thought Lennon did well enough to continue to get that role for now.
And the reason that I asked you about your thoughts on the starting 11, Nathan Pugh's in this morning, and he's back to normal as Nathan Pugh. He says, I understand and I didn't see this, and so I'm just putting this out here from Nathan's perspective. He says, I understand wanting and or not wanting to see certain players play, but the overall negative reaction to the lineup by the Twitter 17s on Saturday was still surprising. Emotions and opinions on the players is good, but at least give them a chance. Hashtag overreaction Monday.
I didn't get a chance to see too much of that, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was pretty hectic. Did you see it or not?
I didn't. No, that's
okay.
why I was putting it out.
That's why I didn't know where that noise was coming from. Negativity in general, I think, is just out of complete control. And I don't know. Maybe it's because everybody's frustrated with life at the moment. Obviously, the performance in Orlando wasn't good enough, but man, it's like at times this has turned into the Chicago Fire in terms of the reaction to a team that has been pretty good in 3 years. I think give them a little bit of a benefit of the doubt here, but that's just me. The lineup made sense to me. Go back to what we said on the run-up. With the exception of the Barco and Robinson injuries, because I had no way to know about those, that was what I expected. I thought Barco would have been in place of Hosetu. I thought Robinson would have been in place of Walks. That was kind of where my head was. It wasn't a big shock. VM says, I'm excited to see more of Cubo Torres. I think Kubo showed that he will be a really good fit with this group. And there's a couple little elements to it that I thought were important. Minute he comes on, he starts combining with people. And then when you had the opportunity later that resulted in the chance that Kubo had that was deflected over the bar, which was a great block by Anibal Godoy, Lennon and Escobar were completely and utterly focused on feeding Kubo. They wanted to get him a goal early. They know how important it is to get him going. That's good to see. That means you're starting to build some connections, some chemistry with that group. I thought Adam John worked very hard, and I love the work he gives you every single time he's on the pitch. He's not the best fit for the way this team wants to play. His movement did create opportunities for others because he just didn't stop working, even though he wasn't seeing the ball very much. He had 11 passes in 79 minutes. That tells you how much of the ball he really saw, which was minimal. But he didn't stop. He pressed. He put the work in. That's what you needed in this one. You need to get Cubo Torres healthy, though, to take that next step because you need a goal threat out of that number 9. John was brought here to give you what he did in 79 minutes in like 15 or 20 off the bench when you need to change up the attack. His role had to change with Joseph Martinez's injury. That's just a fact. You can't expect him to be Joseph Martinez. He's not. I thought he did the work that was needed to start. You've got to get Cubo Torres healthy to take the next jump. It's not a knock on Adam John. It is just the reality of the way this team wants to play. Doesn't suit him for 90 minutes. It can when you're desperate and you're chasing a game, or it can when you've got a lead and your forward is tired and you need somebody to go in there and harass the back line. Adam John can be a very effective piece off the bench for this team. I don't think he's a 90-minute starter for this team if they're going to be a contender.
And Nathan comes back in, and he says it was the John hate on the actual Atlanta United post of the lineup, quote, so I guess nothing is going to change, end quote, eesh.
But that's just misinformed people, because, I mean, to expect Kubo Torres to come in and start straight away, like, you got to get the guy fit. You got to build some relationships there. That's playing FIFA video games and not playing real life. You know, I mean, you can't expect somebody to come in like Kubo and start straight away. I mean, he played, I want to say, like 300 minutes before March and then didn't play until last night. You think he's going to be 100% ready to go and give you 90 minutes? Come on now. And you got 6 games in this 3-week period. So you don't want to blow him out here. A lot of managers around the league talked about this. You've got to be careful in these games with minutes and workload. That was why Robinson didn't start. They didn't feel like they were ready to push him 90. He ended up playing maybe a little bit more than they thought he would. That's the fact. Kubo came in 29-20 this season. This is even going back to the fall. 316 minutes. 2 starts. There's no way you could expect him to come in and play 90. He's just not match fit yet. So this is what you did. It worked. But, yeah, I think people need to be more fair about Adam John's role and why he was brought here. He wasn't brought here to be a starter. And he's been one, and he's made the best he can of it. I would have liked to have seen him maybe get a little more service at times. Didn't happen. He's not the best fit for the way this team plays. Kubo will be, I think. I liked what I saw in this one. Can't wait to see more.
Tafka's in over the weekend, and Cairo latched onto it, and Tafka asked, is it just me, or is Barco's ability to stay healthy becoming an issue?
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. If Barco's going to be the player that I think he is, and we're talking a top player at a top club anywhere in the world, he's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy, and it's a question. There's a question mark. It's hard because it's not the same kind of injury. And that's where I'm really just baffled by it. Is it literally bad luck? Which you can go through any sport you want. There are players whose careers have been ended by bad luck with injuries. There's just no way around it. This is not a Steve Bartkowski situation with the Falcons where he got beat up because he had a bad offensive line and didn't turn into what we thought he could have. It feels fluky. He had a quad early on in his time in Atlanta that slowed down his start. You had the off-the-field issue that took away time from him in 2018. You had the good performances from him going into the World Cup last year, and you had a good World Cup from him. And then in the Open Cup, he gets kicked in the knee, and it took a long time for that to get right. That was a weird situation. And now it's just been the little things here. You know, the little one before the MLS's back tournament, and now this one. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it feels like it's not him not putting in the work for conditioning's sake, because he's getting kicked at times. It's not, a consistent, well, he's got a bad knee and he just keeps getting kicked in the knee. It's not that. I don't know what it is, but you do have to have some concern, absolutely, because he can't be what we all want him to be here or when he gets transferred to Europe, because I do think that'll happen. He can't be that if he can't stay on the field.
A couple of thoughts on Pitti this morning, starting with Katie Weaver. Katie says, I know the This Is Pitti's breakup album, in quotes, narratives are fun, but he showed some real class at the start of the season, too. Orlando debacle was part coaching, but wasn't it said that he almost didn't go at all? Either way, I'm good if he wants to score 2 goals every match, smiley-faced emoji.
There was a small remark, I believe, in the Felipe article on The Athletic in the interview with DeBoer that DeBoer did not comment on about Pitti not wanting to go beforehand. I don't have the article up in front of me. It was mentioned, I believe, in that. He played really well against the Red Bulls, so I don't know if that factors into anything. I agree. I thought he was great to start the season. I thought he was outstanding in the Motagua game. Thought he was very good in the 2 regular season games before the pandemic hit. I thought he was great in Mexico City with a lot of near misses. I thought he was very good to start the season. So, no, the breakup song thing is narrative, absolutely. Pitti has been the consummate professional with all this. I really do feel that way. And people might say, well, he went to the media and he said things last year. Even then, he was fair in what he said. He wasn't angry and speaking out of anger. He wasn't disrespectful. He said he disagreed with things that the manager, wanted in the team tactically. He said he respected the manager. He said that consistently. He said it after Frank was not there anymore. He never said Frank was a bad manager. He never said Frank was a bad person. He was very clear in saying how he felt and fair about it. And he was fair about after Frank was let go, after that situation, after he leaves, he said, look, it's not all on Frank. The players are at fault with this as well, because this is what happens when a manager is leaving. Something wasn't right, and it's not all one person. So I think Pitti has been excellent for this team in 2020. And I thought he was excellent, honestly, second half of 2019. I don't understand where the Pitti hate is still coming from. It is completely baffling to me. He's never going to be Miguel Almiron. He wears the same number, but he's not the same player. He wasn't ever going to be that. And if that's what's fueling it, people got to let go. People got to let go, because Miguel is a special player in his own right, and a very different one from Pitti. Pitti is a special player, as we have seen, not just on Saturday. And he needs to be embraced. He really, truly needs to be embraced. It's sad that he's still not embraced fully by this fan base. And I hope that happens at some point before he leaves, because he deserves that.
From the article, found the section that we were trying to talk about. From the Felipe article, DeBoer said that the 27-year-old Argentine had become a third captain behind Brad Guzan and Lorenowitz, but shortly before leaving for Orlando, Martinez refused to go. Quote, suddenly he didn't want to go to the bubble out of nothing, said DeBoer. Then he had a conversation with Bocanegra, and it was okay. I didn't have a problem with him. He's really a fine player. Sometimes you don't understand what's behind them, what's the reason that suddenly 1 week he's like this, then afterwards he's totally how I want him to be, end quote.
Well, and Pitti has said that he has a family situation back in Argentina. I believe it's mother-in-law that is ill. You don't remember that?
No, I don't.
Okay. He said something about it late last week. That could be part of this. I think Pitti is a very emotional guy, and I think he's a very emotional player, and we see that. We see it when it's good. We see it when it's bad, and things can affect a player like that. Absolutely. Atlanta Phoenix says, I think that's part of the problem about people want Pitti to be a Miggy clone. There's a good side to that conversation in that this happens at big clubs. Numbers start to carry more weight, right? You wear the number 10 shirt at Boca Juniors, Maradona is who you're going to be compared to. You wear the number 10 shirt at Santos, that was Pelé's shirt. You better be special to wear that shirt. The number 7 shirt at Manchester United has special meaning from all of the greats who have worn it. George Best, David Beckham, you can go on and on. Numbers start to carry meaning over time. That number 10 shirt for Atlanta has weight. It absolutely has weight to it. You've had 2 greats in it so far. Whoever is next to wear the number 10, it's not just going to be handed to anybody. That's kind of cool. But we also have to look at the players as individuals and understand that just because they're in that shirt doesn't mean they're expected to play like the first person who wore that shirt, Miguel. It's just, there's not a lot of players like Miguel. And there's not a lot of players like Pitti either. He's a special one, and I think we saw it on Saturday.
Stizzle says, what a hopefully defining moment for Pitti. No Joseph, no Barco, and Pitti stepped up in a big way. The team was fun to watch offensively, and the defensive adjustments are evident. Improvement in playoffs should be the end goal. Hashtag overreaction Monday.
100%. Playoffs should absolutely be the end goal, and this team getting better to get there. I mean, this is going to feel like, in my mind, a Seattle Sounders kind of year, in that it's going to be a build. It's going to take time. but you want to be at your best by the time you get to the postseason. That is where you need to be. And I think that's how it feels like it's going to go. I mean, things have kind of fallen into place for that because you have Stephen Glass in charge now. He's going to be building. You have the 6-game stretch, 1 game down, a lot of games in a short period of time. That's going to help you build. It's not a preseason because the games mean something, but you're building. You want to be your best performance. You want to be your last performance in Nashville in the 6. And you want that to be your catapult to being even better in the next phase of the season. And then you want that to be your catapult into the postseason where you go on and win MLS Cup. That is where this team wants to be. That's what we've seen from Seattle a number of times over the last 4 or 5 years, where it started slow, it made some changes, made some additions, made some tweaks in the middle part of the season, in that summer transfer window, and then they go on the run. That's what you want to see out of Atlanta right now.
Ellen Reynolds is in this morning. She says, loved seeing PT reap the rewards for his work rate. He's such a talent, and it really showed during this match. My secondary man of the match was Remedi, and I thought Walks was more than solid. There was rust in the match, but it was a much-needed win to build from.
Yeah, I thought Remedi was great, and I have been disappointed with Remedi for a while. Disappointed with him not reaching the level that I think he was at second half of 2018, first half of 2019. It kind of fell off for him, and he was having, I think, a hard time staying on the field, which wasn't just because of a coach's decision. I don't think his form was there. This was a return to form for him. And is some of it down to the role? Maybe. Maybe he is best in that 4-1-4-1 kind of setup. He played that a lot at Bonfield, where he sat behind the other 2 central midfielders. It wasn't a double pivot in the holding midfield. It was him by himself with 2 guys who would help. Not that he's completely isolated, but he was responsible for that role. Maybe being there solo in this one clarified it a little bit for him. Maybe it just gave him a little bit of a comfort zone to be in because of his past experience with it. It seemed to fit him like a glove. And you got the passing out of him that I think is such a huge underrated part of his game. He's a great distributor. He's a great creator. You know, we've seen some really nice assists from Eric Remedi during his time here in Atlanta. This was the best one that we've seen. And it was the perfect ball at that time where you needed to open the game up a little bit. I thought it was great. Interesting part, Turner Kirby says, my video is behind my audio. There's really nothing I can do about that at this moment, Turner, because the audio is all on the same channel. Hopefully it will catch up. I'll see if I can tweak something to the audio, but I might mess John up on that point. Anyway, technical difficulties on the Twitch pitch. Adam from 816 asked, and since we're talking 6s, he asked about Busio at the 6 and what people thought of that. I didn't get to study that game. I was kind of flipping around. So I'd like to hear from Adam what he thought, because Gianluca Busio is a player somewhat like Eric Remedi, somewhat like a lot of young American players in this league too, where you get these expectations of, well, he's a 6, he's an 8, he's a 10. We might not know that yet. I think with Remedi, I've thought he might be more of an 8 for a while. But after this performance, if he can do that consistently and play that 6 role, great. Busio, I don't think we really know what he is exactly. I saw mixed responses to him. Again, I'll have to go back and study like his whole game. Adam, I'd love to hear from you, because if Busio can turn into a player for the U.S. men's national team in a deep midfield role, it'd be a nice addition, because I think that's something that Greg Berhalter is looking for, and he's very technical. But can he do enough defensively in that role? That's my question. What else do we have on Twitter? Because we got a lot of questions coming through on Twitch, and I'll probably call you guys on Twitch for questions to come back up. So keep putting them in. I'll grab them if I see them and if they apply. But we'll have a Twitch pitch call here in a minute. Okay.
The last Atlanta United specific thought on Twitter, because we have MLS stuff and we also have some from outside MLS. Kevin from Charlotte once again on PT and the fans/media reaction to him. A lot of the grief he gets is on missed opportunities on highlight-type plays. Quote, look at PT Sky, a free kick. Look at his missed PK, still in orbit, end quote. Easy to point out, but it's an unfair evaluation.
It's 100% unfair evaluation, and it's something that's got to stop. It's really got to stop. Pity Martinez is not there to have 95% passing and play a bunch of 10-yard passes sideways. I don't want him doing that. I want him trying stuff because I'd rather have him try stuff than Eric Remedi try stuff in those situations because Pity's better. Go. Do it. And it kind of follows a little bit along to what Bernd Dursberger just said on Twitch. Do you think the club, not just the coach, has now finally realized that Pity es un diferente and that you need to construct the team, quote, both roster composition and playing philosophy, this is from Bernd, around him to highlight his strengths and hide his deficiencies? I don't think that factors into this performance. I think that's maybe trying to draw too much from it. I think this kind of role suits him. But Miami's going to be a team that's going to put more pressure on him from this kind of role because you're going to need some extra help defensively. Do you get that from him or do you find another way to make it work? We'll see. He's also got to be this good, not 2 goals every game, but this deadly, this dangerous in the final third. It's one game. I don't want to get to that point yet. You also, I think, you have to be very careful because if you're going to try to do roster construction around him, let's be fair about this. He was brought in last winter. You've had last summer, this winter, and now the current window to build anything around him once you get him. You could have used the winter window at that time to build something around him too, but everybody's been worked up about changes that were made this offseason. Would you have made more changes to the roster going into 2019 to move players that might have been moved in 2020 that people did not like? I don't think so. I think you had a good roster in 2019. So you really had 2 windows to build it around him. But there's also the fact he wants to go to Europe. That's known. So if you build a team around him and then he gets an offer from a French club or an Italian club or a Spanish club and you sell him for $15, $20 million, then you've built a roster around somebody who's not going to be here long term. You have to be careful about that too. That's the hard thing about where MLS is guys might not necessarily be here for long stretches and enough time to build a roster around them. That's why I think you have to build the club playing philosophy. And Pity can be absolutely a part of that because you have players like, not exactly, but like Pity, and a player like Andrew Carleton. A player like Andrew Carleton is a player with the same kind of characteristics that Pity Martinez has. You could swap Pity out, play Carleton in that role, which we've seen him on the left. We've seen him out wide a lot, in a free role where he can come inside if the game's there. He can go find the game, and he's there to create. He's there to do things on his own. He's there to deliver the killer ball in the final third. You're going to have players come through that have those characteristics. So you need to be able to accentuate them. I completely agree. But you also don't want to build a team around a player who might not be here for more than 2 years. So you have to be careful with that. It's a balance, and it's a tough one. I think more than anything, it's about building out these things that you want control, you want to play fast, you want to put the other team under pressure. Those 3 elements are the important things, and you want to build a roster that allows you to do that. That's where my head's at anyway.
Okay. We have stuff on MLS in general from other action on the weekend and one other element from outside MLS. Do you want to go to the Twitch pitch with more Atlanta United stuff first?
Let me get Adam's comment, and then we'll run around the league and world real quick. Adam on Busio said his distribution, it was great. Mobility was an upgrade from Ilie. Minnesota didn't really play with a number 10, so he wasn't tested a lot defensively. That's my question about Busio, is can he defend well enough from that spot? I worry about Will Trapp in that kind of role for the U.S. I worry about Michael Bradley in that kind of role for the U.S., 2 guys whose distribution is great. Can Busio give you more defensively than those guys? It's LAFC Atuesta. It's that conversation, too, that we've had. When you have a number 6 who is a dominant possession guy, you've got to get enough defensively. And that would be my total question about Busio. So we've got to see him tested a little bit. Okay. Let's run through the things around MLS first, and then we'll touch a little bit on the Champions League final as well. We'll get deeper into the Champions League final for you guys tonight on Soccer Over There. That will be a deeper dive into Champions League, into everything going on around the world. But I want to hear your thoughts on Champions League final, so please share them with us this morning. Twitter, @SoccerDownHere, on the Twitch pitch. Email as well, and we might have the emails for tonight. Okay. One rumor to start with that has popped up this morning from Portugal. Jonder Cadiz, who is a young striker from Venezuela, looks to be headed to Nashville on a season-long loan from Benfica. That is desperately needed because Nashville's biggest problem was their number 9. Cadiz is 25. He's valued at $2.6 million on Transfermarkt. Benfica brought him in last summer for $2.75 million, according to reports from Vitória Setúbal. He scored 9 goals, had 2 assists in 2018-19. That was his best season as a pro. Got that move to Benfica. Spent last year on loan with Dijon in the Ligue 1. 2 goals, 2 assists in only a handful of games and minutes, 799 minutes. Didn't really work from him. Big, he's over 6 foot tall, strong, hard worker. He seems to fit the profile of what Gary Smith wants. Dominique Bacci gave you the strength, gave you the hard work, gave you the wrestling skills. Maybe he doesn't want Cadiz to be quite as good of a wrestler. Maybe he wants him to be a little bit better of a finisher. Nashville needs a number 9. Miami needs a number 9, Chris Ashley. They still need a number 9. But they got one in the performance against Orlando, Julian Carranza. He wants to make all of us look stupid and say, I'm the number 9. I don't care if I have the number 9 shirt. I'm going to score 2 goals. First goal was not a great one to give up. But Miami looked good against Orlando. Not perfect, but good. Orlando looked like the MLS is back hangover was real. Took them a while to get into it. I thought Daryl Dike looked good up top for them. Talk about strength. He made Leandro Gonzalez-Perez look like a rag doll at one point. Maybe Dike is going to be the starter up top for them over Tesho Akindele. I thought Rodolfo Pizarro looked very good. And from a first glance at Miami, what I worry about with them against Atlanta on Wednesday, that front 3 in the attacking midfield, Morgan, Pizarro, Pellegrini, completely interchangeable. Morgan would pop up in the middle, Pizarro would drift out wide, Pellegrini would come in the middle, sometimes they'd all be on the same side, create overloads. That's going to give Atlanta problems. They're going to have to be very locked on defensively. Communication has to be better. Has to be better. Miami looked good in their win. They still gave up 2 goals. I think defensively they're still susceptible to goals. Atlanta's got to be better in the final third as well. That's going to be a fascinating match on Wednesday. I can't wait for it because it's 2 teams who want to play. Yep. The other team that won MLS is back, had a even bigger hangover last night. Portland, 3-0 losers to Seattle. Giovanni Savarese, sometimes you need a hard wake-up call. They got it. It was a closer game than 3-0. If you watched it, I thought Portland was in it. Chris Duval, I thought, had a goal that was amazing. And Eric Williamson, from the angle we saw, might have been slightly offside. The angle wasn't the best. I don't know if it was definitive. It was called back. Portland had opportunities. Seattle had opportunities. Seattle got the breakthrough, and then Portland fell apart. And that can't happen. That's the wake-up call. LAFC had a hard wake-up call. Carlos Vela left with a non-contact knee injury. Bradley said LAFC didn't look like themselves. They never found a rhythm. They lost 2-0 to the Galaxy. Sebastian Lletget said, we knocked them off their high horse. I know what they did in Orlando to us, but we have to focus on now, and hopefully we shut them up a little bit. Love it. Love the trash talk. Galaxy were really good defensively. They broke things up. And against LAFC, you have to. You have to break that rhythm up. And Galaxy 100% did it. Colorado looked broken in a 4-1 loss against RSL. It was bad for Colorado. All the great things about Colorado after Anthony Hudson was let go last year with Connor Casey and then Robin Fraser coming in, gone. Wiped away, doesn't exist anymore. They've got some serious problems. RSL ripped them to pieces. I mean, you're getting goals from Justin Merrim. You're getting goals from Michael Chang. Corey Baird was all over the place. Damir Kreilach. It wasn't anything remotely close to good from Colorado. And they have to go back to the drawing board. Big-time problems.
Yep. Looking at El Tráfico, some of the published reports were op-ed pieces discussing the start time of the match and how it was a detriment, apparently, to LAFC. You didn't hear that from the LA Galaxy. Good for the Galaxy to get this to get this one coming out of the blocks for a team that desperately needed some good news, especially coming out of MLS's back. RSL in Colorado, that one for me was a complete and total shocker that RSL just dismantled Colorado 4-1. And then last night, I agree with you. It didn't. If you didn't watch it, you'd sit there and go, "Oh, Seattle completely dominant, 3-0." No, I mean there were those two moments. It was 1-0, and then boom, boom. It was just one. I think it was a deflection off of a long punt. Tried to get a settle, it deflects one way, and then it goes in. And just a couple of moments in a very short period of time make it 3-0. It wasn't the 3-0 in all italics and boldface that a lot of folks would sit there and say it. With me, it was 1-0 with two additional moments that made it 3-0.
What do you think about the Champions League final? Bayern 1-0.
I mean, it was what we were discussing about PSG. The concern was defense. Defense stepped up, and it was just the guys up top that didn't finish for me. And it was just that one moment with Coman, who grew up idolizing PSG. And the irony wasn't lost on me that he ended up getting that goal for the winner. But all it takes is just that one moment, and the fact that it was Coman that got it. That's all you needed.
Okay. That's a weird response to a game that I thought was pretty incredible.
The first 45 minutes was absolutely amazing. I thought it was a fantastic first 45 minutes, even though you didn't have the ball going in the back of the net. But sometimes it's just that one moment that happened early in the second half, and Bayern got it. And then it seemed like after that, I don't know if PSG looked confused or thinking too much or trying to probe and come up with an answer. It just seemed like PSG kind of got stuck in the mud offensively after that goal and tried to come up with an equalizer.
Bayern's really good.
Yeah, they are. That is not in dispute.
I mean, they're really good, and yes. They don't get rattled.
Mm-mm.
And PSG had their moments because every team that plays Bayern is going to have their moments. Bayern has that commitment to playing the way that they're going to play. They think they're better than you. They think they're more complete than you. They don't worry about conceding chances. It doesn't shake their confidence. And they're going to do what they're going to do. PSG is not quite that team. You did see, I thought, a little bit of being rattled after conceding. Thought PSG was very good. They weren't good enough to beat Bayern. I thought it was an incredibly well-played game. It was played at a pace that you don't often see. And I really think that what we saw in this one, especially that first 45, is a little bit of the blueprint of the modern game going forward. I think what we saw in teams playing fast, pressing when they lose possession, committing to getting numbers forward, but also committing to the work required to get back. Because you saw PSG, I mean, we had a question coming into it of, are Mbappe or our Neymar, Di Maria, are they going to come back and put in the work on that side of the ball? They did. They worked hard. Everybody worked hard. It was a really well-played game. PSG should not feel inferior in this. They don't have the trophy that they wanted. But it was an outstanding match. And it's a match that I hope that a lot of coaches who are working with U15s, U17s, like that generation, are going to study and look at how can we replicate what Bayern did? How can we replicate what PSG did? How can we play that fearlessly? It's exciting. Manuel Neuer, Katie Weaver, just raving about him. He was incredible in this. He had some massive saves. But that's why you can play so open, right? Because you trust him. You believe that he can get this done. 21 consecutive wins. 30 matches unbeaten. They didn't lose in Champions League this year. They didn't draw in Champions League this year. They fired Niko Kovac in November.
Yeah.
They fired him.
Yeah.
They brought on Hansi Flick as the interim, and he lost twice. they haven't lost in 2020. It's amazing. It's amazing, and they won the treble. And now you're going to go into next year, and you're going to have to be even better. And that's the challenge. And they at least get a little bit of time. PSG has to play a league match on Sunday, which is bonkers. But they didn't play from March on. So, I mean, it's a little different. Bayern finished their season. They get a month of a break. PSG goes straight into the season. What are they going to look like early on? They've got a lot of things that they've got to sort through. Looks like a lot of the key figures are going to be back, but not all. And Thiago Silva is one who is being linked with a move to Chelsea this morning. Also, according to Kavil Solhekal on Sky Sports, Chelsea is close to a €100 million deal for Kai Havertz. I've seen 80, I've seen 90 plus add-ons. Ben Chilwell as well is another one Chelsea's trying to get. Chelsea is throwing money around like
Skya.
What?
That's just bleh.
Yeah, craziness. Havertz, it sounds like it's ready to go. Fabrizio Romano says in hours, the deal with Leverkusen. €80 million plus €20 million a final fee. 20 million add-ons is the final fee. Details, paperwork, that's where you're at with that one. But Thiago Silva's being linked with a move there potentially as well. Luis Suarez, reportedly, Fabrizio Romano, other reports out of Spain. Ronald Koeman has said he's not counting on him. He's not going to be part of the squad. So now what happens with Luis Suarez? Is that Miami's number 9? I'm just saying. Ajax has kind of walked back the reported interest. They're saying that they haven't. They said they'd love to have him back, but they haven't made an offer. Who knows? I would be shocked if David Beckham or his people are not talking to Barcelona about Luis Suarez. I would be absolutely, utterly shocked about it. Chris Ashley says he saw something about Chelsea trying to get Lionel Messi yesterday. I've not seen that one. I did see Thomas Tuchel, who is not 100% coming back to PSG. There's reports.
That's my question. I was going to ask you.
Well, there's reports about it, but I mean, there's reports about everything. I guess there's reports about Messi to Chelsea, so I don't believe that one. Tuchel said yesterday that, of course, he would take Lionel Messi if Lionel Messi wanted to come to PSG. Who would say no to Messi? The reports are that Tuchel might not be back at PSG, and that could be Max Allegri. But there's also reports that Allegri would rather have the Inter job, which is not empty either. Antonio Conte is still the manager of Inter. So we'll see. The carousels are spinning, in some cases, very, very fast, and we're all getting dizzy.
Yes. So if you are looking at the PSG situation, knowing how very rich owners
what's
are
the PSG situation, first off?
The Tuchel question that we just had.
But I mean, what's the situation? They lost in the Champions League final. It's the furthest they've ever been.
And I'm getting to that. So
okay.
If you are an ownership group that has spent €1 billion to get to the Champions League final and lose the Champions League final, knowing the impatience of folks with that much money, do you think that Tuchel gets fired?
If you do, you're an idiot. I mean, you want to be real? If they fire Tuchel after what he did with that team this year, it's the dumbest move they could make. Dumbest. You go get Max Allegri to fit into that team? Dumb. Dumb. So dumb. Incredibly dumb. You would be going backwards. Tuchel did an amazing job with PSG to get them here. This was a great opportunity for them. You have to wonder if it had been 2 legs in the quarters and the semis, would they have got to this point? Don't know. They've always had problems in the second leg. Tuchel deserves the opportunity to take it further. He should get that. If he doesn't, it's PSG's loss. They're not going to get better with Allegri, I don't think. I think he would change who they are, and that's not what they need. They're not going to get better with Pochettino. They need to stick with Tuchel. And if they don't, then that's on them.
And am I wrong from basically last week forward that any mention that you have of David Beckham, I now hear Nick's voice doing a David Beckham impression? That's
completely wrong, and I'm very sad about this.
I just hear Nick's voice of David Beckham now every time you mention David Beckham.
Very sad, very sad. Poor David Beckham.
One more thing before we thank folks who are part and parcel to this universe. CBS gets major kudos across the board for their coverage of Champions League, for Europa League, and for the Women's Champions League that is still going on. I can't give them anything but the highest marks for their dedication to everything that has gone on in the tournament, all of the in-depth coverage that they've given, the choice of talent that has been a part of it. It's been a solid broadcast all the way through. And Jonathan Tannenwald over at the Philadelphia Inquirer had a great piece where he caught up with the lead producer from CBS. That would be my request for today's reading assignment, catching up with him as they were leading into the Champions League final. But high marks for CBS for everything that they've done in bringing the sport to the U.S.
You know what that music means?
Yeah, I do. Proud supporter of everything. Soccer Down Here in the SDH network. Apolinski and Associates, LLC. Wrongful death and serious injury matters. If it's a road, unfortunately, that you feel you have to go down, a couple different ways that you can catch up with Steve and get information that you need. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million for their clients in Georgia and Alabama for wrongful death and serious injury matters. You go to their website, aa-legal.com. You hit the enter button or whatever button you use on whatever device you want. Pop-up window pops up because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up. You can have an instant conversation with somebody 24/7, 365, or in a year like this, 366. Get your questions answered that way. You can shoot Steve an email. Steve, S-T-E-V-E, at aa-legal.com, or you can get a free consultation by giving him a buzz at 404-377-9191. Apolinski and Associates, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend Magazine, top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. Home of Soccer Down Here and the Soccer Down Here network. Everything that we do. Proud supporter of the network. Steve Apolinski and Apolinski and Associates. The website, aa-legal.com.
Nicely done. Our friend Johannes agrees with you on the CBS coverage. Said it was absolutely fantastic these last 2 weeks. Also hope this kind of format, one leg neutral venue, is looked at by UEFA. Thought it was refreshing, exciting, and would help with relieving some of the fixture match congestion for these top-level players. I agree with that. I do wonder how you're going to sort out the broadcast rights because it's less games.
Yeah.
If the fee is the same for less games, okay, cool. If you can figure out how not to lose money on it, I'm in. I love it for the Europa League especially because it invites a little more chaos, and in that competition, I think a little more chaos is always good. Champions League, I'm not against it. But I think you've got to make it financially viable. That's my question about it. But we'll see. We'll see what direction UEFA goes.
Uh-oh.
Austin FC. The legend grows, according to @AustinFC, and introducing our first designated player signing, Cecilio Dominguez, coming from Independiente in Argentina. I'm waiting on more from them on this. There was talk that he would be loaned out because they're not playing, obviously. And where he would be loaned out was a question because Independiente did not want to have him back. They owe him money. I'd assume that maybe this is part of the deal, that he gets the money he has deserved. We'll see. But Cecilio Dominguez is the first designated player for Austin FC who just continues to build an interesting brand that feels different.
Yeah.
I mean, it really feels like what they are doing is not something we've seen exactly in MLS. Dominguez, 26 years old, was last with Independiente from 2019 on. He was with Club America before that in Mexico. Cerro Porteño was where he first really started to knock in the goals. Sol de America is where he started in Paraguay. Paraguayan national team player. Reportedly, Independiente owes Club America money as well, which is a problem, but our friend Gustavo has told us many times Independiente is basically broke, so they had to get this deal done. I would assume it's a good piece of business from Austin because of that desperation. And I think it's a great addition. I really think it's a great addition to build around. 26, he could be there for a while. He's a player who's had success in Mexico. He's a player who's had success in South America. Really good fit. I want to see the numbers, and I want to see where he's loaned out to for the fall.
And I want to see the reaction from the Minister of Culture about this particular signing.
Yeah, definitely. I need to see Matthew McConaughey talking about Cecilio Dominguez. This needs to happen. Very, very. It's cool what they're doing. I'm really impressed with what Austin's doing. Atlanta Phoenix says Austin FC seems like a sleeping giant potentially. Who'd have thought after Precourt and hashtag Save the Crew?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to be in Columbus. I mean, this was a long-term play for Precourt. He wanted to buy a team. He got a good deal on buying Columbus when there was nobody else to buy Columbus. He kept Columbus in Columbus for a time, and then he wanted to move, and then everything worked out the way that it needed to work out. Columbus got local invested ownership who wanted to be there. They get their new stadium downtown. Precourt gets to go where he wants to go because, I mean, remember, the only out clause he had in his purchase of Columbus was to go to Austin. That was it. That was the only one. It's a savvy piece of business from his part. And he got what he wanted. He got to take this team, because technically on paper, this is the original Columbus Crew that have moved to Austin. That's just paperwork stuff. But he got to do what he wanted to do and go into a market that has no major professional sports and build something different. I love what they're doing, and I love how it worked out for Columbus. Everybody won in this situation. They did.
Yeah, and what we're seeing out of Austin FC, I like the branding. I like the presence. I like the personality that I'm seeing. But I will still maintain that we need more Matthew McConaughey as a part and parcel to every single thing that happens with what's going on. I want to see him shopping at the old McCalla Place or looking for Spencer or Chess King at the old McCalla Place as they're trying to get the stadium online. I want to see him get some shopping done.
That's a weird request, John.
Just, I want to see more of the personality of Austin. I mean, have you seen the T-shirts have been, and I think I may actually have one which would fit. It says, "Keep Austin Weird." Mm-hmm. And so
I don't think a shopping mall is part of that. That I don't think is open anymore either.
No, that's what I'm saying. You know, you're looking at the past and you're seeing what the past was, and now you're seeing a stadium that's being built on those premises. It's like, the Chess King and the Spencers are not. All right. That is what I'm looking for out of that minister of culture.
He's got a lot of different characters, so there'll be lots of different things. All right, questions from the Twitch pitch. Let's get into this. Domer saying hopefully Austin pulls a crowd on the regular. I think they will. I think it is the right fit, the right time. It's going to elevate the other Texas teams. I think there was why are you putting another team in Texas? Austin's not going to pull people away from Dallas or Houston. I think it's going to create rivalry between all of them, and I'm excited about it. Ragamuffin, yes, I remember, and no, I don't want to see a recreation of McConaughey playing bongo drums on the beach. I'll skip that one. This is going to be an interesting time in MLS with Austin coming in. Then you get Charlotte. Then you get St. Louis and Sacramento. I want to see how all of them come through. Mrs. Claus says their goal kick sounder should be all right.
or the beginning of their goal call. However they want to do it in the.
It doesn't work as a goal call.
Ball goes in the arena. Ball goes in the net. All right. Then you hit your music flourish.
No. Everybody's going to scream when the ball hits the net. Nobody's going to wait for the all right. Jigga Ray's got it nailed, and I would love to see them do something with this. Gary Clark Jr. would be a great musical performance for Austin FC. I'd love to see them involve him in whatever branding they create in this next step for what a game day looks like. Please do that. That would be awesome. They've got to tie music into it as well, and they can go in some different directions than Nashville has. I love how Nashville's tying music into it. I know a lot of people don't like the guitar riff thing. I like it. I think it's fun. I want to see where Austin takes that, because I think they might be able to even do it better. Because Nashville, we think country music, and you're not going to bring a lot of country into this element. I don't think you should be afraid of it, but they're not. They're going with this riff that is more of a rock thing. Austin has got so many things to play off of with that. Gary Clark Jr. as their musical minister of culture, I would be completely into. Bartimus Prime, and this is a great one, would love to see Austin host a World Cup qualifier in this upcoming cycle. Absolutely. Put U.S. and Canada in Austin. That'd be great. Yeah, pick a game and put it in Austin. I want to see that stadium. I want to see how it feels. I think it could be pretty special. So I'm all in. Let's put U.S. and Canada in Austin, Texas. Let's do it.
Chiefs coach Steve is saying Breck Shea is a must for Austin FC. Just saying.
I played for almost everybody else. So, yeah, that could work. Jigger Ray's also nominating Stone Cold to do the announcements while shotgunning beers. So he's announcing the starting lineup, and after every one, he's got somebody throwing him the beer, and he downs it, and he goes the next name. That could work for this. Could work. Domer, Nashville country sucks. Austin much more gooder. Austin is a mix of country and rock and blues. That's a great set of sentences, Domer. I like it.
Much more gooder.
Much more gooder. Get some Stevie Ray Vaughan in there, too, for Austin, I bet.
Oh, that's mandatory.
Katie Weaver says, how come Nashville's doing the riff and record for home and away games, by the way? We're not doing virtual spike for away games, right? Yeah, they're doing that as part of their TV broadcasts for the away games. So I know I didn't see the game because we had the twos that night, so I didn't see the first game in Frisco against Dallas. I saw the second one, and it was the guitar player from Matchbox 20, which I don't think of with Nashville, but okay. And then for the Atlanta game, obviously I was not watching the Nashville broadcast. It was not the original guitar player for Bon Jovi because that's Richie Sambora. It was the guy who's replaced Richie Sambora in Bon Jovi who has other musical acts as well. He did the riff, which, again, it's like I don't think of Nashville. I think of that. Like the guitar riff idea and incorporating music, I get it. I don't think of a riff like that with Nashville, but let's see where it goes. I think they might need to up the name recognition on some of these guys, maybe, or find another way to incorporate it where you're not having to turn to lots of different people. I don't know. I want to see where it goes. I like the idea. Maybe the execution's a little. They did the spike in the stadium with the video board and all that, and it was a healthcare worker who did it, Ricky, and I think they're going to be doing a lot of that with the spike in the stadium. I don't know if they're going to incorporate it in the away telecasts. It'd only be the Atlanta United telecast, so this Wednesday on Fox Sports South they could, but I have not heard those plans, so I'm not 100% sure. J-Dub Parker says Austin FC should throw a brisket on the smoker for every goal scored. Not against that. I mean, it's going to take a while to eat the brisket, which that's not good. I mean, we need something that'll be ready at the end of the match so the player can have a snack after the match.
Oh, that'd be great.
So maybe we need to work on that. But yes, if you might need to have the brisket pre-prepared.
With some chili, maybe? A little Tex-Mex, maybe?
You could go that direction if you want to. I like the brisket idea. I think you're just going to have it ready to go, and you're finishing it on the smoker so they can have a bite after the match. That's a lot better than getting a piece of a log, I think.
Yeah, it's like, well, here's a log. Okay, so then you're thinking, all right, what am I going to do with this? And then B, maybe turn it into firewood come the winter anyway.
No, I think you're going to hang it up because it's like something kind of important.
That's going to be that's a heavy load of fishing line to hang that thing up.
Well, I think you can figure that out, and the team would probably help you a little bit. But I like the brisket. The man of the match, instead of getting a guitar like they do in Atlanta or getting the golden spike or whatever, they get brisket. That works. I mean, I'm cool with this. Chris Ashley, I'm not up on my house renovation shows. I did not know that Chip and Joanna Gaines were Austin folks. For every goal, have Chip and Joanna Gaines renovate a house.
Okay, I thought they were Waco folks.
I do not know. Like I said, I'm not in on this. I don't know. Let's see. What else we got? Everybody's freaking out about Mike Conti may switch allegiances if we're doing cookouts for Austin. No, he's not. We'll just incorporate him here somehow.
I was going to say it would be cooking combat is what it would be.
We will steal it. Bevo coming out of the tunnel with both teams behind him would be amazing. I don't like Bevo. Not after a scared Ugga. I'm not a fan of Bevo. Not a fan of that at all.
Yeah. And why are you taking Bevo indoors?
Yeah, I don't like that idea either. But I just don't like I don't like anything that's going to scare my dog.
Oh, there was other news out of Austin this weekend that involved Austin this weekend.
Okay, what is it?
In the USL Championship with San Antonio and FC Tulsa. The fourth substitution window.
How did this involve Austin?
Because a forfeit would bring Austin closer to San Antonio, but drop them back to third below Tulsa in the standings if the ruling happened.
Yeah, there was a little bit of confusion in the Atlanta game with this too. You can make 5 substitutions right now. You can only make them in 3 windows during play. Halftime doesn't count. So this was why the substitution, because you saw when Fernando Meza went down, Miles Robinson warming up, he's ready to go, puts the jersey on. They were about to sub him, and it looked like there was a conversation on the bench, and it was held. And Meza went back on for a couple minutes standing on the right wing, and then you went to halftime. By doing that, that meant you had all 3 windows to use in the second half. That's why you could bring on Jeff Lorenowitz late when you did. Well, in the USL game, they made 4 subs in 4 separate windows. And that is not allowed. Now, the referees screwed it up. The referees have to be punished. The referees cannot be, given more games right now. They have to lose bookings for this. They completely and utterly screwed that up. But in the USL rules and regs, there is a rule that if you have more substitutions than you're allowed, the minimum penalty is a fine and a 3-0 forfeit loss, right?
Yep, correct.
So, and they won 2-0. They were winning at that point. The 4th sub really wasn't all that necessary because it was it in stoppage time?
90 plus 2, yeah.
Yeah, like it did nothing except it could cost them a forfeit. It's in the rules. Like, I don't know how USL gets out of not giving the forfeit in this case, even though the referees allowed it.
Yeah.
But
and that to me is the larger point here. It's like
I don't think it's the larger point because, I mean, you did it. Like, the rules too. The referees allowed it. The referees have to be punished. It's not the larger point because you turned the sub card in. Atlanta's bench, it appeared, realized, okay, we're a couple minutes away from halftime where we're not going to lose a window to make this sub. Hold it. They realized that they didn't make it then. The bench in this situation has to understand we've already used our 3 windows. We don't need this 4th sub in stoppage time. The game's over. We got it. So they got to be punished too. And if that's the rule, that's the rule. There's no way around it.
So Group D, a forfeit would bring Austin closer to San Antonio, but drop them back to 3rd below Tulsa. So we could have mathematics involved in Group D in the USL Championship this week.
The USL's got to announce something like now. It's taken too long. I mean, this is pretty cut and dried. They've got to say either we're not punishing them because the referees said it was okay, and we're going to not have we're going to talk to pro. We're not going to have these referees work in our league for right now, whatever. And we're going to break our own rule, or you follow the rule. I think you have to follow the rule. I just don't think there's any way around it.
And the rules in the USL actually account for a 2nd and 3rd violation of this substitution.
If you consistently do it, then you're an idiot, and you should be getting extra punishment. That's typical. I mean, that part, there's nothing shocking about that. So let's see what happens. But USL, it's been too long. They have to announce something about this because it's out there, and people are waiting on some kind of ruling, so they got to get it done.
Kevin from Charlotte says, you have redeemed yourself with Gary Clark Jr.
Yeah, Kevin from Charlotte got mad because after the game, we're playing Nashville songs on the full-time report. We get 3 slots. That's it. I like to mix it up because I know, I could pick like all 90s alternative stuff, and that would be great for me. It wouldn't be great for everybody else. I'm trying to be there for all of the people who listen. And when I'm looking at Nashville, obviously there's going to be something country related. And I went Johnny Cash. That was the first thing that came to mind. I thought Rusty Cage was a good one to start with. Okay, done. I didn't have a problem with potentially going to a second country one, but I wasn't going to play 3 country songs. And Paramore's from Franklin, Tennessee. I like Paramore. I like that stuff. So I was in. Played Crush, Crush, Crush. Kevin from Charlotte, not a fan. I disappointed him with my musical tastes. I have told y'all many times, and I will tell y'all from here till eternity, I am musically schizophrenic. I will listen to Paramore and Johnny Cash and Motley Crue and REM and Outkast and Pastor Troy and all of it in the same day. Yeah. And that is just me. So I have a shirt that I just bought that is all the classic Athens bands with REM and Pylon and B-52s and all of that on it. And driving to the stadium on Saturday, what was the last song that I had on? I know the three, because I have a playlist that I listen to going to the stadium. It is my game day tradition when I'm driving to the stadium. And I think I got on this time on the random play Soul Food by Goody Mob, Are We Cutting by Pastor Troy, and What's Up, What's Happening by T.I. Those are the three that I remember from the drive. So I'm all over the place musically. I would say I'm sorry, but I'm not. So that's just what it is. And Gary Clark Jr. is awesome too. So yes, I'm in all of this. All of it.
All of it. All the music.
People wanted me to play Young Buck, and we have to wait till the next time because that request came in after we'd already picked our three, and I'm trying to not make our producer go crazy back at the studio.
Yeah, because you come up with them pretty quick once the game's over.
I have to because I got to get them ready because we got a lot of stuff happening after the game. So Young Buck is in the mix for next time we play Nashville and are victorious.
Tafka has a question.
Okay.
What's the playoff format this year? I'm so lost in 2020.
We've had a lot of questions about this, and am I wrong in that MLS has not made an official announcement?
I haven't seen anything.
Like, there's been the talk from The Athletic about 8 spots in the West and 10 in the East. I think MLS has said 18 teams make the postseason.
Yeah, and because they slid Nashville, that's why they made it 10-8 as opposed to 9-9.
And I feel like I'm questioning this every time I say that because it's been reported, and Jason Nix is yelling it in all caps in the Twitch pitch. But has MLS actually announced it?
All right. Well, okay. I'm going to check my end of the Google machine. MLS playoffs.
Now people are arguing about if T.I. is still in jail. He's been out for a little while. Good stuff. I love where things will go off on tangents on the Twitch pitch. It's very entertaining.
Okay, so August 8th, the league comes out with a release.
Okay.
And it discusses pretty much everything, but it only says this. A total of 18 clubs will qualify for the postseason in 2020, up from 14 last year. The Audi MLS Cup playoffs will begin November 20, culminating with MLS Cup on deck period 12 period. No details after that sentence.
Okay, so Mrs. Claus says they announced it last night on the Seattle-Portland game.
Okay.
Did Fox talk about it, or was there a full MLS announcement? Because it's not on their website, and their standings on their website still have the lines at the 4 spot and at the 7 spot. Baffled. And they said it was because Nashville moved back to the East. So I'm going to, since I got through most of the game last night, but I was also reading and not paying attention to all of the audio. Breaking news sounder, I guess, according to somebody. This is getting out of hand, y'all. I'm confused. What's the breaking news before I hit a sounder? Come on, Pacine. Yeah. I need a cue here.
We need the news to go and talk about so it can break.
Was the breaking news the announcement? Oh, okay. Just announcers talking about it on the broadcast. So it wasn't an official announcement. Okay. Oh, Pacine, we already did that. Where you been, man? He's breaking news on the news that we already broke.
So it's broken news.
Cecilio Dominguez. I don't have a broken news sounder. Man, this is a crazy overreaction Monday. Okay, so the announcers were just talking about it. So they haven't officially announced it yet. What we think we know is 10 teams in the East, 8 in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there has been talk about play-ins in the East. So 7 and 10 would play. 8 and 9 would play, yes. And then you get to your 8 teams in a quarterfinal, semifinal, final in the conference. MLS Cup is on December 12th. I want like an announcement so we know. And get
I want concrete stuff, man.
And Jason Nick says there's lines on the standings on MLS Soccer, but those are the normal lines. Even the playoff seeding stuff at the bottom of the page, that's what it was coming into the season. That's the standard playoff format. They got to fix this stuff. Like, give us an announcement, man.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's talking about it, so I'm assuming it's going to be 10 teams. I'm assuming that is the format. Nobody's questioned it at this point. So you got to be in the top 10. Atlanta right now is number 4. That's good. You need to be higher than that. Red Bulls are 1 point ahead of you. Toronto's played one more match, and they are 6 points ahead. Columbus is on top, 16 points through 6.
They play tonight.
They do. They play New York City tonight. New York City's got some pressure on them. New York City is at the bottom of the table in 14th. Now 1 goal behind Inter Miami on goal differential. Pacine. Sorry, Pacine says, look, man, there's a national Zoom outage and my children keep talking to me or whatever. Sorry, I missed it earlier.
There is a national Zoom outage.
There's a national Zoom. What is this madness that is going on a Monday? We got breaking news on the AJC. Zoom crashes for users across the globe.
Uh-huh.
People are running around with
dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Yes, they're also running around with lampshades on their head, and there's outrage, and kids are talking to parents, and what is this madness?
We can't have interpersonal communication between parents and children.
Kids are supposed to be in Zoom school right now, and they're not. Tafka, I don't know what the playoff format is. I think it's 8.
We think what we know is.
Oh man, this is
okay. So here's your.
There's 2 hurricanes that might mate. We're hearing. I mean, it's just ridiculousness.
Well, I mean,
what a day.
I give Reddit CFB all the credit for wondering what kind of a passing route that is, because they had the map of the 2 of them blending in a passing pattern, and Reddit CFB was like, "What kind of a passing pattern is that?" And everybody said flood route.
Guess what? It doesn't
matter. Zoom users reported issues logging in as early as 7:40 this morning. Currently, more than 16,000 account users are reporting issues. At 10:20 this morning, 10 minutes ago, they had identified the issue, still working on a fix, in quotation marks, to the technical problem plaguing thousands of users.
That's not good.
So don't use Zoom right now because you won't be able to.
Yeah, it's not good. Okay, and see, but this is the thing. This is the quote from MLSsoccer.com. Abby shares it quoted. Each club playing at 18 additional regular season games in the phased approach. Decision day, Sunday, November 8th, to make up for the 3 matches missed for the tournament. Dallas, Nashville, blah, 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 blah. 18 clubs will compete in the playoffs, up from 14 teams. Okay, where do the other 4 come from? Tell us, please. MLS, help us out. Throw us a bone here.
Yeah, really? A little info here. NYCFC in Columbus. NYC is at plus 146 tonight. Columbus plus 175.
That's stupid.
That's what I'm saying.
It's at Red Bull Arena, so maybe they're looking at it like, oh, NYC's at home, but it's not their home, and there's nobody there anyway. And as we've seen, like, home field advantage doesn't mean a whole lot at the moment. So that's really stupid. If you've got extra juice boxes, Columbus is looking pretty good these days.
And your honors even after 90 minutes is at plus 249. We have 5 matches tomorrow and 6 on Wednesday.
Looks like, for you Chelsea fans, the Kai Havertz deal is going to get done. Everybody's talking about it. Bill now has the $80 million plus $10 million regular season participation at Champions League, plus another 10 if you win titles, Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup. So I don't know how those plus 10 and plus 10 break down exactly. But yeah, it looks like Chelsea's getting this deal done. So Kai Havertz could be announced as a Chelsea player really any time now. That's kind of big.
Couple of other things on the Twitters this morning. Bartimus Prime is in, and if you haven't read Bart's article, go read Bart's article.
Articles
at soccerdownhere.net. Hypothesis from Bart. MLS's back was not a good barometer of a team's quality. 3 of the 4 semifinalists lost their reopener, 1 drew. The finalists both conceded 3 goals and a loss, and 4 teams that were eliminated in the group stage got a result.
I mean, it's a tournament. The game's counted for regular season, but it is a tournament, so it's everything's weird right now. And this is why I think all of the jumping to conclusions about anybody at the moment is a little hard to do. You're not playing preseason games. You're coming into these games cold. You're figuring things out on the fly. You're dealing with different protocols. Game days are weird. I mean, it was weird being in the stadium and nobody there.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of noise was weird. It's just everything's strange. So nothing is normal to base it off of. Got to give a little bit of time. I think maybe by the last 3-4 games of the regular season, maybe the last month of the regular season, we'll have a pretty good clue as to who's good, who's not good, who's a title contender, who's not. I think it's so wide open right now. Anything can happen. I mean, the LA Galaxy pitched a clean sheet against LAFC. Anything can happen. I don't know what is less likely. The Galaxy with a clean sheet, Zoom crashing, or mating hurricanes. Maybe the Galaxy, but they got a clean sheet. So anything can happen in 2020. I'm not jumping to any conclusions just yet.
No. News from outside of MLS. Kevin from Charlotte, did you see the absolutely disgraceful Cosmos player stomping? Have you ever seen anything like that recently?
I've seen things like it, and a lot of times they result in jail time. It was horrendous. It's a joke, and the fact that this has not been dealt with quickly by the league is a black eye for the league. Players should have been immediately banned, suspended for whatever your minimum for violent conduct red card is. If it's 3 games, I mean, that should have been announced after the game. There's no need for review. There's no need for we have to get a committee to get. No. You hit the maximum on a red card, and you say further punishment will be under review. You don't come out and say we have to have this meeting, blah, blah, blah. No. You hit the maximum you can give for just a red card in a game, whatever that is. And if you don't have it, well, then you need to review your rules and set that up. Because this looks really bad that this has not been dealt with quickly. And the Cosmos should have sacked the player to begin with.
Yeah.
The Cosmos should have cut him after the game. Because that's an embarrassment to that badge that has a lot of meaning for a lot of people in this country and around the world. It's a joke. It's assault. It's flat-out assault. Saw the market left on the guy's head.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. And it's a bad look for the league that it happened in the league. But these things do happen. It's a bad look for the league that they haven't dealt with it swiftly and in a much better way. And it's a bad look for the Cosmos that they haven't dealt with it better and in a swift way.
Yep, I'm with you on all fronts. And if I would have obviously given him the max red card suspension. If I was the league, I would have said one of 2 things and probably said both. You're suspended for the remainder of this season, and you're banned from this league. Some combination of that.
See, but John, now this is where you got to be smart. You can't do that. I don't know what agreement they have with their contracts or their players. You can't ban somebody for the season, and you can't do those things without proper protocols. The problem is they haven't done the basic minimums. This is why when something like this would happen in other leagues, you hit the maximum penalty that you have in your rules.
Yep.
And then you say that further punishment will be decided by XYZ. Because you have to follow whatever your rules are. Generally in these situations, you have a committee who reviews it. You have a committee who makes a recommendation. That should have already happened by now also.
Yep.
But you can't say you're banning somebody from the league straight away. You can't do that. You're probably breaching contracts doing that. Just because it was a shocking thing and a bad thing doesn't mean you do that. You have to be professional about it. But they haven't even hit that level. That's the problem, is you can't just run out and do these things. Cosmos could release him from his contract, flat out. That can happen. Yeah. Unless there's some clause that, you have to do things in a certain way that wouldn't make any sense, because I think you can do that in other leagues. I mean, I don't know what their contracts look like. The league has to be a little more careful here. The Cosmos have to take the leadership on that side, but the league has to say, banned for the maximum, and stress the maximum amount that we can ban him for a red card in a match. Further suspension will be decided by the disciplinary committee, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Yeah.
But no, you can't just run out and say, like, we're banning him from the league. Like, you can't do that. Then you look Bush League.
But I think that NISA has waited entirely too long to come up with any kind of a decision and say anything in regard to this.
Yeah, no, that's completely
swift
wrong.
And as fairly immediate as possible.
Yeah, no, that part's absolutely. I mean, there should have been a statement that he's got the maximum penalty after the game, and then more punishment will be decided, et cetera, whatever your protocol is.
Jason Heinley's in this morning, back to Atlanta United. He says, a couple of times I thought Lennon was playing that right center mid that I wanted him in when we were talking about it in the run-up.
Yeah, that still didn't make any sense to me. It's fluid. I mean, but that's what in the attack, that's what you want. I thought at times Lennon was playing right back because of the way he was tracking back so deep. You want this group to be fluid, and they're going to have to get the best out of them against Miami. You look at Miami's front three, and you want to compare it to Atlanta's. Pitti, Rossetto, Lennon, compared to Pellegrini, Morgan, Pizarro. Miami's group was more fluid. There were times where all three were on the right side. There were times where Morgan was on the left. There were times where Pizarro had drifted out to the left. There were times where Pellegrini and Pizarro were both in the middle. It was very fluid. You didn't get quite as much of that. You got Pitti very fluid for Atlanta. Rossetto pretty much played central, and Lennon was pretty much on the right, although he came in a little bit to create space for Escobar when he came forward. So you want it to be more fluid because it causes problems for the opposition, as you saw Miami cause Orlando problems, and as I'm worried Miami can cause Atlanta problems with that fluid of a group.
Also on the board this morning, Michael Head with a question wanting to know what the XGs were from the match.
Let me see if I have that. I think it's been updated from what I got. Atlanta 0.8 net. No, that's not it. Sorry. Wrong game. Atlanta 1.1 and Nashville 1.4. I mean, come on. David Acom had the 0.5, the biggest one for Nashville. Atlanta, Brooks and Pitti at 0.4. Brooks for that one big chance that he had that he didn't hit, and you got to do better in that. Pitti had 0.4, and that gives you, I think, a glimpse of how good his goals were. Jigger with a good question. What phase of the field are you more worried for? Atlanta's defense versus Miami's attack, or Atlanta's attack versus Miami's defense? Worried for, from an Atlanta perspective, would be Atlanta's defense versus Miami's attack.
Yeah.
I think Miami's defense has problems, and Atlanta can exploit it. But I think Miami's attack, with how fluid it is, with Atlanta still shifting to a back four, potentially with Fernando Meza not available, piecing things together, I worry about it. Because I think teams that are very shifty in their attack and how pieces will move around, that gives Atlanta problems on a good day. Right now, with all of the movement and all of the change, it could give Atlanta more problems. Would not be surprised to see Jeff Larentowicz in this game. Either as a 6, as a dual 6 with Eric Remedi, even though that gets away from a little bit of what we talked about with Remedi really thriving in that solo 6 role, or Larentowicz coming into the back line if Meza can't go. I think a steady veteran presence like Larentowicz could be really important for organizing traffic, being an air traffic controller back there and making sure that, okay, Morgan's on the left now. Now Pellegrini's here. Now we've got 2 here. You got to come here. You know, Rossetto drop, Heinemann drop, help here, blah, 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 blah. I think you're going to need some of that. So Larentowicz getting the start wouldn't shock me at all.
A couple of other questions having to do with Champions League and the discussion that we had earlier in the hour. Nathan Pugh says, single leg, what about those special European Anfield nights? Question mark with a bunch of emojis following.
I see, that's where I am a little torn. It was fun. I don't know if it's the best way to determine the Champions League winner, supposedly the best team in Europe. I mean, Champions League is a crapshoot as it is. This made it more of a crapshoot. Maybe if you do it for the semis and the final. I don't know if I'd go all the way to the quarterfinals with it. I don't know. Maybe the Europa League does it as a difference between it and Champions League. Maybe it gives the Europa League a different feel doing it that way.
Yeah.
I do like the 2 legs. I'm team 2 legs for everything. I think MLS, everything should be 2 legs, including the final. I would love to see that, but that's not going to happen. So we shall see. Questions about Ted Unkel and his performance. Katie and Ragamuffin have talked about it in the Twitch pitch. His card throwing was weird. He allowed physical play to go a little bit too long at times, I thought, on some decisions. Dominic Bacci should have had a yellow. He committed 4 fouls, and a couple of them were pretty atrocious.
Yep.
He wasn't awful. I mean, the way he called the game was okay. I thought sometimes he let things go to where, the physicality got too far. My biggest 2 issues were Bacci not seeing a yellow for the 4th foul that he had.
Yeah.
And Godoy not seeing a yellow for going for the gut-wrench suplex on George Bello on the sideline.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 big issues I had. Neither one was all that consequential. I'll take that. I would have liked a little more consistency. Abby said very inconsistent. I would have liked a little bit better performance, but it wasn't that bad. I hate to say we've seen worse as like a backhanded compliment, but
Rivas.
You can name a bunch of guys, and that's not going to help anything.
Recency.
Uncle was okay. Should have had a couple more yellows on Nashville. That's my biggest issue.
And also on the board with...
Oh, one more on that real quick. Bart chimes in and says, when do we have the conversation that an intentional foul at the top of your own box to stop a breakaway is also a professional foul that needs a caution? I so agree. And I was a little riled up on that one. Lennon had made a good header on a corner and then took a big touch and was breaking away at pace, and Mukhtar fouled him at the top of the 18. It was a long way away from midfield. It was a long way away from Nashville's goal. It was an intentional foul to break up a counter, which is what Lennon got a yellow for like 15 minutes before, early in the game. So, yes, I was riled up about that. This is something teams do to Atlanta consistently, and it's something that I don't think is punished enough. Atlanta does it too, and they get punished for it, which is fine. Do it both ways. If you are a team that wants to break and you're being fouled to prevent the break, and teams are not being punished for it, that's wrong. Because when Atlanta fouls to prevent the break, as they should, as possession teams do to prevent counters, they get punished, and that's fine. It needs to go both ways. Mukhtar should have been on a yellow too. Thank you. That's another one.
Yep. Tafka quickly says, has Alphonso Davies reached the incentives for his deal for the additional transfer fees to Vancouver yet? Feels like he would have.
I don't know all of them, so I don't have the answer to that. Because I think we were talking about like $8-9 million in total. He did hit the Champions League one, obviously. I think that was $1.1 million. Yeah. I don't know if that's U.S. or Canadian. There were questions about, does Vancouver get to keep all of that money because of the transfer? He was a homegrown, so I believe they do. I don't think he was a homegrown before they changed that rule. I think they get everything that they would have got out of him. So Vancouver did pretty well. MLS looked really good with Davies playing in a Champions League final, playing well, and winning the Champions League final. That's a credit to what MLS can be, because Alphonso Davies did not own the league before he left. He was a very good player in it. And he went to Bayern and he's become an even better player. That's a credit to the talent that MLS can produce.
No word on that other bonus that we were looking for, the $8 to $9 million one. I'm checking that one right now, and there's no immediate.
Ricky said MLS was reporting they get only £500,000. Maybe. I had read it had been $1.1 million. Pounds, dollars, I don't know. I didn't see the contract, so I don't know what the clauses were.
Whitecaps get €500,000, $590,000 as a part of MLS's record transfer.
Not for the whole transfer. No, John, they didn't get $590,000 out of $11 million. That's for the Champions League thing, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. They got the rest of their money. So the clause wasn't for $1 million, is what I'm assuming. Maybe it was tied to something else. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. So, Abby says, looking forward to Jurgen Damm coming in soon as a sub. Totally agree. I'd love to get his speed as a game-breaking sub late. I'm looking forward to seeing Cubo Torres from the start as well. Mm-hmm. I think the attack will be far better with him because I think he's just a better fit for Pitti, for Hosetu. I think he's on the same wavelength with those guys. So I am in. But I do want to see Flash. Jürgen Dahm with his speed will be really nice to have in this group. And if he starts off as a sub in the second half, give him 30 minutes, that's fine. Run at tired legs, good with that. That big switch, that ball that Remedi hit to Pitti, if you have the opportunity not just to play it to somebody who's super technical and can kill it with that first touch and blow by Annie Baba with the first touch, but if you have a guy you just put it over the top and let him run onto it, that would be nice. Clayton Poss, many others have mentioned it. Leandro Gonzalez-Perez and his newly bright blonde hair will be facing Atlanta United on Wednesday. Clayton says, weird. Matt Wagner says, who does LGP give the most trouble? I don't know, to be honest. This is a different group. He hasn't dealt with Adam John if he gets to start. He hasn't dealt with Kubo Torres. Pitty's not going to be in there dealing with him a ton. He hasn't dealt with Lennon. He hasn't dealt with Hosetu. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. The people that he would be seeing outside of Pitti in his zone, set pieces will be a little bit different. But, yeah, he won't be seeing a lot of guys that he knows. He'll try to trash talk. He'll try to get under people's skin, for sure. He'll try to get under Pitty's skin. But I think Atlanta players will be trying to get under his skin, too, because they know they can set him off.
Yep.
So, he's a good player. He's a very good center back. I look at Miami a little bit more as they're playing a center back at right back in Figal, and I think that's an opportunity for Pitti to really take advantage of. So I like that situation. I like Bello coming forward in that situation. Their center backs are good, but it's not that scary. I'd like to see Kubo Torres and his movement in the 18 against that Miami center back pair, but we just don't know how long Kubo's going to have fitness-wise on Wednesday.
Tafka back in quickly with our discussion about what happened with New Amsterdam and the Cosmos. Mm-hmm. Tafka says, call me elitist or whatever, but I really find Nisa annoying. It hasn't been particularly professional. Remember the Atlanta team not even knowing who or where they were playing a week before the game? We finally have an exceptional first, second, and third division. Join it! With 2 exclamation points.
Yeah, the Nisa thing's weird. I do think ultimately there'll be a 4th division, and that's fine, because that's needed too. I think that's really level-wise where they are. I'm not knocking it. I'm not trying to be insulting to Nisa, but Nisa's trying to open the door up to clubs that are not at that level that U.S. Soccer has set up as 3rd division level in terms of financial strength, in terms of just all the different requirements to be a 3rd division club. It feels like it's being stretched a bit to fit Nisa in. Maybe Nisa, and I believe this was part of the conversation with Nisa at one point, maybe they need to be the pilot for the 4th division professional level, where it is a proving ground for teams that are stepping up. You have a Cosmos in there, which has been fully professional. You have Chattanooga FC and Detroit City, who are very well-run clubs who are stepping up from the amateur ranks. That's exactly what this league should be. But then you have some that are just, they're not at this level. I mean, the Atlanta SC thing was poorly run from the beginning. The Philadelphia Fury thing, they were on the schedule and played a game and didn't make a trip, and they're out. Too much of that, it looks very fly-by-night, and it's a bad look. The other clubs deserve better. I think what NISA needs to do and U.S. Soccer needs to work with them is they need to own the opportunity to be the 4th division. NPSL teams that want to move up and can't move up into a 3rd division level or don't want to buy into USL, they can go to NISA. But I think it does need to be separate from the 3rd division. It needs to be the 4th division. And it needs time to grow. It needs time to grow. Every league that has launched in the United States has had hiccups, really with the exception of MLS in a major way. NISA has had 2 teams in Philadelphia and Atlanta go away before they've even played a full season, and MLS had the 2 teams go away 5 years in Miami and Tampa Bay. MLS has been the most stable American professional soccer league that we've ever seen. USL, you can go through a giant list of teams that folded. The old NASL, giant list of teams. The old American Soccer League, giant list of teams. The leagues in the late 80s, early 90s, huge lists of teams that folded. NISA will be no exception, and that's okay. But I think they need to be the fourth division right now, and they need to really stake that claim out and be the training wheels is going to sound like an insult. It is honestly not. They need to be that opportunity for teams to learn how to be professional teams. And that's the niche that they can create for themselves. I'd like to see it.
And for those that might have missed it on the network, we talked to the president of one of the leagues that they've got a relationship with now, the Gulf Coast Premier League president, Jeremy Paklemba. And we caught up with him, and it's on the app and it's on the network about their new relationship and their participation in the Cup that just finished and the integration of all that. It was a fun conversation to have about seeing where the GCPL is and where NISA is concerned. Yeah,
that's a perfect fit. Turner Kirby asked, USL2 is basically a college summer league, correct? Yes. They are amateur. NPSL, amateur. NPSL can have professional players in teams that don't have current college players. They do allow that. USL League 2 does not. But they are both amateur leagues as the way they are branded. NISA is professional. It is low-level professional. I mean, players are not getting rich playing in NISA. But it is professional. And there is a place for professional teams that are at that level. And I think NISA can carve that out. But, you had New Amsterdam's owner playing goalkeeper.
Yeah.
He came on in the second half. Came on at halftime, I think. That sets a weird expectation. It needs time to gel. But I think at the fourth division level, it can gel there. And if it gets to the point, then it grows, and it should be at a higher division. There's not promotion relegation, so it really doesn't matter what number is attached next to division whatever. The only thing it really affects is where you come into the U.S. Open Cup. If they earn the opportunity to move up and be third division or even be second division, if you have two second division leagues, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I just want them to be well run and be stable. That's all I want to see.
Yep. We are caught up officially on the Twitters. What else is on the Twitch pitch this morning?
Lots of different questions. Domer wants to see LGP versus Jeff Larinowitz on corner kicks. Alex Bassine wants Barco back to bait LGP into a bajillion fouls. Chris Ashley
it would get to a bajillion because he would have been carded by then, wouldn't he?
Dominic Baji wasn't, so no, he wouldn't be. Chris Ashley is highlighting and all capping and yelling Greenville triumph.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about it?
Still at the top of the ladder. A great thunderbolt. Got the goal on the board from Noah Polito, I believe. And once again, still at the top of the table. Everybody's chasing Greenville.
There were a lot of thunderbolts. Tormenta with a great goal in Chattanooga, great comeback from them.
Yep.
The Greenville goal. North Texas had a great goal from distance from Edwin Cerrillo.
If you haven't watched North Texas this year, go ahead and just wait until the second half of North Texas games, because traditionally the last 20 or 30 minutes of North Texas games this year have been absolutely bonkers. So if you're watching the plus and you're just kind of cruising games, North Texas pops up, wait until the 60-minute mark before you watch a North Texas game, then dive in and watch the rest of it, because odds are it'll be pretty crazy.
No, watch the whole thing. But if you're not watching it and you get to that point and you start to see all caps on Twitter about North Texas, then turn it on if you're not already watching it. But watch the whole thing. We want everybody to watch the whole game.
True.
Don't watch, Designing Women and then
No.
What
I'm saying is that if you're locked into your team and your game, and then you start seeing the all caps on Twitter about something going on at North Texas, switch over and take a peek.
Yes, please do that. Chris Ashley, I need your take on this. I felt like it was maybe the best weekend in USL League One ever. It felt like a lot of big moments, a lot of big talk nationally with some of these great goals. I noticed a lot of USL League One talk this weekend. I think it might have been the best weekend the league's had.
Yeah. Oh, and Chris Ashley, you're on the clock for your Thursday interview for Greenville Triumph Weekly, by the way.
Ricky Ricardo, Messi and Ronaldo on the same video game cover for the first time ever. PES 21. How is that possible? Because they didn't want to be on the same cover together, maybe? I'm thinking. I'd have to go back and look at FIFA covers now that I think about it to see like who's been on what, and I think they've both been on them. Usually it's only solo, although FIFA started to expand from that because more covers and you can sell more stuff, although all that's changed because it's all digital now. You're not going out to the store to buy the game. I worked at GameStop for a little while as the retail music business was crumbling, and I switched over for a minute, and it wasn't for me. I'm not a big enough video game guy to get into it. I'm a sports video game guy. But I was there for the Madden launch. And this was in the days where people went and got it at midnight, and it was madness. That was one of the craziest experiences of my life, was district managers, because one of the shipments to this region was in Louisville, Kentucky. District managers from Atlanta rented U-Hauls, drove to Louisville, picked it up to get it there instead of waiting for it to be shipped, because it wasn't like music where everything came out on a Tuesday. You had a release date. It was the game's being shipped out. You get it when you get it. Wow. So people drove to Louisville, picked it up off of whatever planes were bringing it in, and then drove it back to Atlanta. Ours got a flat on the way back. So we were supposed to be selling it, like I think they had said at 8 o'clock or something. People started coming into the store before that. The cops had to
riots?
come. No, there weren't riots. I was managing it better. I didn't manage a riot, John. I had to keep everybody calm. But the cops had to come and deal with all the people in the parking lot because it's midnight and we're still waiting on the U-Haul truck to show up with the Madden game, and everybody's just going nuts waiting on this thing. I didn't leave the store until like 4 o'clock in the morning when it finally got there at about 12:31, and we sold to everybody who was there. Everybody had pre-ordered it. Absolutely chaos. Now you just download the thing. It's so much easier. But that was madness. I don't remember that for FIFA ever that crazy. I wasn't there for a FIFA release cycle though, so I couldn't tell you. But it's a lot easier now to just download it. I don't know if the covers mean as much now, I guess is my whole point to this random conversation. Sorry, Ricky.
Speaking of pre-orders, can folks still do that for a particular item that we have?
Yes, because we don't have a whole lot left of the Peachtree Post scarf. They are going very, very fast. They will be sold before we get them. They'll be sold out. So if you want one, it is $20. That includes shipping. Send us a message so we can arrange your payment and you can reserve it, because they're almost gone.
Wow.
I think there's about 15 left.
Good stuff.
They've went really fast. So thanks, you guys, for picking those up really quickly. We kept the numbers down to make it a limited thing, but we also kept the cost down to thank you guys for listening for as long as you guys have. So people who were there on the Peachtree Post days and people who've been with us from the beginning, that is on our Twitter account to see what that scarf looks like, and they're going fast. So if you want one, you better get on it now.
Programming notes. We're coming back tonight, right?
I was waiting for your programming notes. You just said
no,
programming.
I was setting you up. It's like, hey, programming notes. We're coming back tonight, 7 o'clock?
Yes. Soccer over there, 7 o'clock. We'll get deep into Champions League final. We'll get deep into transfer sagas. We'll see if Chelsea gets Kai Havertz done today.
Who doesn't Chelsea get at this point?
We'll see. I mean, we'll see what other moves happen. Thiago Silva, where he might land, because he has played his last game for PSG. He said that after the match. Thiago from Bayern, does he leave? Does he go to Liverpool? Does he go somewhere else? We'll get into all of that tonight, 7 o'clock. We'll talk MLS as well.
Charlton Athletic?
Yes, there's lots of stuff on Charlton Athletic as well. It's madness. Who knows if they'll be even playing this fall? We'll have to wait and see. Final stuff on Twitch before we go. Yes, I told you of the good old days, Captain Ragamuffin. I felt really old when I was explaining all that, because now you guys are just like, going to a store to buy a game? What's wrong with you people? It happens. I do that occasionally. I'm sorry. Peachtree Post feels like 10 years ago, according to Jarrett Smith. It does. It was a long time ago. It was a much simpler time. Zoom didn't crash. We didn't have mating hurricanes. It was a whole different time. We had not had an Atlanta United match at that point, ever. It was crazy. We'll see. We'll see what happens next. I want to see what happens the rest of the day on all of these things. I want to hear where Cecilio Dominguez is going to be loaned out to. That's a good signing for Austin FC this morning. Want to see lineups for tonight with New York City and Columbus. That game will be on while we are doing soccer over there. It actually starts at 7 o'clock, so soccer over there will be half of a watch-along as well, as that game will be on as we're talking all the soccer. It won't be a strict watch-along of that game, but I'm sure there will be references to it because it will be on other screens for all of us. So, all the things. Turner Kirby with the final question of the day. Seeing the college teams in the state announce that they would have fans, if MBS was an outdoor stadium, do you think there would have been a subset of fans on Saturday? I don't. Do I think that maybe we will see a subset of fans sooner now with these other announcements? Possibly. If it was an outdoor stadium, would we have seen them Saturday? No. If it was an outdoor stadium, do I think maybe we'd see them before the end of September? Yes. I think they're going to be more careful, and that's not a knock on the college programs that are doing this, but I think they're going to be more careful than that. Georgia Southern has announced it, according to Turner, that they will have fans. Georgia Tech. Has Georgia announced specifics? I saw Tech's specifics. I haven't heard Georgia's specifics.
I haven't heard either.
Okay. But they will have them. We know they will. It's a different conversation, and I've seen a lot of people throw shade at MLS for allowing Chicago and Columbus to go ahead. Chicago had a player test positive. They did not travel to Columbus. The protocols that are set in place that were agreed upon by the MLSPA allowed for that game to be played. They followed the protocols. As we have said over and over and over and over and over again, you are not seeing issues with transmission from one team to another in competition. That has not happened anywhere in the world. So MLS having them play when that player is not there and you're not seeing the transmission from team to team, the game isn't the issue there. Chicago traveling would be more of the issue. Chicago, being a team is more of an issue. Everybody else tested negative multiple times. They're doing daily testing. I don't know what else to do. I mean, that's where we are with this. Fans coming into the equation has also been lumped into some of this as well. And I can tell you from experience, and John can back this up, at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, everything was divided into zones. You were in tiers in terms of where you came in, where you could go. If you were Tier 1, you didn't come up to the press box because Tier 1, you're being tested. Your game day on the field, you're part of the team. You're part of the staff who can be on the field. You're being tested regularly like the players are. We were not. So we could not interact with Tier 1 people, period. Not even socially distanced with masks on. Completely separate. Fans would not be Tier 1, obviously, and there would be ways to keep the fans distances from the field. So you're not going to see transmission from fans to players. That's something that I think has been lumped into this conversation a little bit that has zero to do with it. The question about fans attending is more fans transmitting to other fans because you're not going to be able to test the fans. And that's a huge concern because any public event's a huge concern. I think it's a little early. I don't know how much of a financial boost these college programs are going to get from doing this. It feels like an unnecessary risk. I'm also very conservative on this side of things in terms of protecting myself. Not conservative in a political sense. I'm saying it in terms of I'm going to be very careful about my activities. So I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go in that situation, but that's just where I am with this. I think it's a risk that I don't know if they need to take at the moment, but we will see. I don't think Mercedes-Benz will be risky at all. So right now it's through the end of September. I think that will definitely remain in place. Do I think we'll see fans before the year is out for Atlanta United games? I do, because I think you'll see it for the Falcons. So I think you'll see it for both.
Yeah.
But I'd like more time. I really would like more time to get this better under control, because it needs to happen. It needs to. But you won't see fan interaction with players. That's not going to happen. You'll see a lot of separation. You'll see barriers created. You'll see situations with that completely. So it ain't happening in that way. But it could happen among fans transmitting and all of those things. Lots of stuff. I hope it gets better. I'm hoping for things to turn the corner, but I feel like I'm just hoping at this point. So we'll see. Turner, the thing I say about the college side of it in terms of how much the financial boost is, it's because of the comments we've heard from RSL and Sporting Kansas City, who are allowing fans and saying that they're not getting a massive financial boost from having the number of fans that they're having. Now, you're talking 3,000 to 5,000 versus, I think Tech was 11,000, if I remember the number right.
Yeah, 25% capacity, I think, was what they were hunting for.
Okay, and I think that's the same at Georgia, so maybe it's more like 20,000, 25,000 at Georgia, which feels like a lot. Yeah. If you're separate, maybe. Does that really move the needle from a financial standpoint? I know you're talking different amounts, but Sporting Kansas City said, look, we're not doing this for money. I don't know if it is. We're trying to give something back to our fans. Maybe that's just saying the right things. I don't know. Every little bit helps, I guess, but I don't know if it's strictly a financial motivation to get 11,000 in for Georgia Tech, for example. 23,000 at UGA. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you for doing the math for us. We'll see. We're all figuring this out on the fly. And college programs, MLS teams, NFL, Major League Baseball, we're all trying to figure this out as we go. So we will see what's next. On the field, good weekend for MLS. A lot of goals, more goals than I thought there were going to be. Hopefully we see more starting tonight. New York City needs some goals in a big way. Woo. NYC Columbus, 7 o'clock. We'll be on with soccer over there at 7. Twitch.tv/soccer down here, on the app, on the website. You can come and listen to Kai Havertz talk. You can listen to Ben Chilwell talk. You can listen to Charlton Athletic talk, Lionel Messi talk, Ronald Koeman talk, Luis Suarez talk, and maybe some Ronnie Dyla talk, maybe some Caleb Porter talk. We'll see. See what happens. It'll be fun tonight. So come hang out with us at 7 for soccer over there. Until then, mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.